Hi everybody, this is Mark from Mark's Mandalas, and this tutorial is going to show you how to do the Peacock top dot pattern. And I'm going to be doing this one in a 16 dot pattern, meaning there are 16 dots in each circle of dots. And as you watch, this is going to be the first half where I'm going to be doing all of the main dots, and I'm doing them in purple and white. Whenever I change colors or tool size, I will put up both the paint color and tool size that I am going to start doing next. And every time I start a new circle of dots, I am doing my 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock approach. And that just helps me to keep balance to the pattern. Once I do those first 4 dots, then I go ahead and I put a dot in between each of those. And that's going to give a total of 8 dots. And then once those are all laid out, I'm going to put a dot in between each of those to give me a total of 16 dots. And I'm putting the dots down in the same sequence every single time. And that's to show you, as far as I think the best way to keep balance, you can keep the spacing between all of the dots. If you just go around in order, you might find that you have excess or not enough space for the last dot or two, and it may make it look a little more out of balance. Later on, when I'm doing the top dots, I don't worry about this because I am just putting a dot on an existing one, so I don't have to worry about the placement in regards to other dots in the pattern. And you had heard me mention as far as first half. And I say that because once all of the main dots are laid down, I'm going to go to a video section showing the placement for a peacock style dot, which is going to be closest to the center dot. And you'll see that here in just about a minute or two. And once that video is completed, then I'm going to resume the slideshow showing me placing all of the top dots. And I also have a photo I put on social media that shows this same pattern on a pendant and also on a rock. The one on the rock also has extra embellishments on it, such as accent dots in between the main dots, and then I also put a border on the outside of the pattern where I walk the dots. And if you are new to dot art and the 16 dot pattern is a bit overwhelming for you, please feel free to go ahead and just do an 8 dot pattern. You'll have more space in between the dots, but that's okay because later on, when you get more comfortable, you'll have some more room to add embellishments if you want to, or you can actually even add the extra dots to make it a 16 dot pattern. And if you are a more advanced dot artist, then please feel free to go ahead and do the 16 dot pattern, and you can add extra embellishments such as accent dots in between or a border as well. And we're actually at the end of the first half of laying down all of the base dots, and coming up here is the video section showing how to apply the peacock dots. Okay, now that we're done with the first part of the tutorial with the purple and white dots, I'm going to go ahead and cut in here with a video showing you how to put on a peacock style dot. Now, most of the time you're going to end up doing your top dots in the center, so you're going to want to try to put it in as close to the middle as you can. With a peacock dot, now I'm going to step back for a second. These dots, I made this with the number 12. These are number 8s, the first circle, number 10s in the second, and number 12, size 12 in the third circle. And what you want to do, instead of going in the middle, you want to come towards the center dot about halfway to 2/3 of the way down towards the edge of the dot you're going to be putting a top dot on. And if you kind of see there's kind of a straight line coming down from this dot straight through here all the way across. And so you want to have that peacock style dot kind of in line towards the center dot. You don't want to put it over here or over here. You want it to be down at the bottom, or in this case, I guess on the top, You want it to be closest to the center dot. So I'm going to go ahead and do a few of them on here. I'm going to change the angle a little bit so hopefully you can get a better look at it. And we'll see if I can pull this off. I have kind of an interesting angle I'm doing this from. So let me go ahead and turn this, and hopefully that's going to give you a good angle. Now I told you the sizes earlier, and I generally, as a rule of thumb, it's not a hard and fast rule, but I generally will downsize 2 sizes to do top dots. So when I have a size 8, I'll usually do a size 6. And these are 10, so I would go with the size 8, and with the size 12, I go size 10. Not all the time, but most of the time, that's how I do it. So that gives you a reference, kind of a starting point for when you're doing your top dots, as far as figuring out what size you want to use. So I'm going to go a little heavy-handed with this because it's size 6 is just barely big enough, I think. So I'm going to dip it and get a little more paint on there. I'm going to try to load it up pretty good versus having just a little bit on there. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. There's one. Let's go ahead and do a couple more here before I turn it back. Okay, and I know I'd normally do dot at my 12 o'clock, but for the sake of showing you this to get a good angle for you to see it, I deviated from that. And you can see that 2 of them I got pretty good. These these Peacock style dots, these are a little smaller than I like to go with. I would probably go up to a size 7. In fact, I'll do a couple of them, the size 7 here in just a moment. You also can notice that on this one right here, I didn't get all the way down to the bottom of the dot, which I really like to do. That helps get the desired effect. If you want to create some other effect, maybe that's appropriate. For the Peacock style, I like to have that top dot cover that part closest to the center dot. So I'm going to try a couple with the size 7 real fast, and we'll see what kind of coverage that offers. And let me turn this at an angle so you can see this as well. And that's a little better for what I like. So I'm already deviating from my rule of thumb. It's just kind of a starting guideline. And there you can see I like that coverage a little better, the small ones, but it's all personal preference. I mean, you might like the smaller ones versus the larger ones. So experiment with it, have fun with it. I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the second half of the slideshow with me applying these Peacock style top dots, and hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Well, welcome back to the slideshow portion of applying the Peacock style top dots. I hope any of you that were unsure about dot placement, that the video section you just watched was helpful. And since the dots are so small, the first few circles of dots, I zoomed in pretty tight. Otherwise, it would be difficult to even see that I was applying any top dots. And even though when you just do those first couple circles of dots by themselves and they're hard to see, when you have the whole effect, it's important that they're there, I think. I think the closer that you can get to the center dot with these Peacock style dots, the better. If you find that the first circle of dots you've done are just too small and you're not comfortable putting those dots in there, then just leave them and do the first circle of dots closest to the center dot that you're most comfortable with. Now also in the video portion, I talked about a rough rule of thumb on using a tool 2 sizes smaller than the main dot that you are applying the top dot to. And as you watch this tutorial, you'll notice that through the first several circles of dots, I am only using a tool that is one size smaller. But as you get larger, the range seems to expand. So it's just a matter of how large of a top dot you want, whether it's a peacock style or a center style, or another top dot that gives a different type of effect. I think something else that makes a difference is if you want to apply a second top dot, once again, whether it be centered or peacock style. I did a Halloween theme mandala that is kind of reminiscent of candy corn and the candy pumpkins. And with the candy corn, I did a yellow base dot, and then I did a orange peacock style top dot, and then a white peacock style top dot on top of the orange one, and it gives kind of the illusion of a candy corn. So there are lots of possibilities that you can create with top dots. This particular tutorial is in reference to the peacock style, and the peacock style name is given to it as it's reminiscent of a peacock feather, how it has the main dot with dots that are at the base of that dot, and in a couple different colors. And I really enjoy the effect that this type of top dot placement gives. It almost pulls it into the middle. And this is a 2-color one, but you can do multiple color ones. I've done full rainbow with this pattern, and I think it's also really beautiful. And we're actually getting very close to the end of this tutorial. I hope you found this really helpful, and I look forward to creating more tutorials on different patterns as well as other tips to make dot art easier for you to create. This is Mark from Mark's Mandalas. Until next time, rock on.